Today's video, we're going to take a look at some of the ice fishing equipment that we need for our little expedition tomorrow. We're going to do something a little different tomorrow. We're going to walk out onto a secret lake. So in order to do that, it's not accessible by snow machine, just by foot. So we're going to travel very light tomorrow. There's probably about 10 inches of snow on the lake with some slush, but the last couple days it's been pretty cold. It's been minus 25 or so overnight, and even the daytime high has been about minus 15. So I'm hoping that the surface is going to harden up a little bit. In preparation for that, though, we're going to travel very light, just bring the minimal amount of stuff that we can, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so some of the stuff we're going to be bringing here, we got the fish finder here. This is a Humminbird Helix 5. I've had this for about 2 years now. It's got the sonar display, and it's got the GPS, and it's been okay. I haven't had any issues with it. The last machine we had, it was a Ice 35. Unfortunately, the sleigh that were towing behind the snow machine, it rolled over and it broke. So they had to replace that, fortunately. We're going to be bringing just one ice scoop. Normally bring two. We're just going to bring one, trying to keep the weight down. I got a couple worms in there. We got our fishing rod stands here. So this is I believe a HT quick pickup rod holder here, and this isn't just another HT wire rod holder. I think these are a lot nicer, these ones here. I mean, this is fine if you're sitting in the hut and you're watching it all the time. You got so the fishing rod, it just rests on here. Only issue is if you're fishing for pike or lake trout, and even walleye. We've lost a couple fishing rods. We learn now, because as soon as they start biting, the rod goes over and it gets pulled down the hole. The thing with these ones here, these are really nice too for light biting fish. So the rod sits in the holder like that. And when you get the fish biting, the rod's able to tip. And I'm not putting very much pressure on this. And if it were to pull it, what happens is it goes only so far, and then it gets locked into this here, and it can't get pulled down the hole, which is we've had happen quite a few times. You haven't lost any fishing rods with these ones here. Other thing we're going to be bringing here is our rod and tackle bag. We have 5 ice fishing rods. We have 4, and then we've got a 5th one as a spare. We'll have all our pliers, our tackle. We'll have extra batteries, some stormproof matches. We've also got our kneeling pads in here. They're nice. These are HT brand ones too. You don't need to buy those. Any pad or chair will work. These ones here, I find the thing is if it's super cold out, the vinyl on them, it gets brittle and it tears easy, and these are all torn up. So we've had the duct tape over quite a few times. I'm also going to be bringing our auger, obviously, to drill some holes. This is our brushless Milwaukee with the clam auger plate. We've kind of just mismatched pieces together here. We got an ion auger extension and then an HT auger bit. We'll bring the spare handle with us. If the auger were to ever die or quit on us, we'll always have this just in case. We have our minnow tank here. This is a, I believe it's a 1.5 gallon tank. I've just screwed on a little piece of sheet metal, a bracket that I bent. I put a little bit of gasket sealant on those screws just in case, because I had noticed they just went through slightly on the other side. I could have used shorter screws, but it's okay. It hasn't leaked at all ever since. Made it 2 years ago. This was a cheap $10 bubbler, and I got about 2 feet of aerator line just to a weighted bubbler here. Otherwise, if you don't have this on here, if this tubing, if you have it sitting outside, it coils up and it doesn't want to sink down, so you need a weight on there.
And this minnow tank's super handy for little expeditions when you're going walking, because you can screw on the lid and just close the lid slightly, and you don't lose any water out of it at all. Even if you throw it in a sleigh with a snow machine, you won't lose the water. It's spill proof, so it's actually pretty ingenious there.
Yeah, and it keeps the minnows alive all day if you have to. You could put them in there overnight, or you can even keep them in there for weeks. I mean, if you've got 2 dozen minnows in here, or 3 dozen minnows, which is quite a few, you'll have to change a cup of water, maybe 2 cups every day. Preferably if you have any water that you've had sitting around, so that the chlorine kind of dissipates. Otherwise, just use 1 cup of tap water. That should be fine. Over here, these are MSR snowshoes. Bought these at the surplus store. Had these for, I want to say, 3 years now. They've actually been quite good. I got a good price on them. Normally, snowshoes like this you're gonna pay $330 US for. I couldn't complain. I believe I paid $40 for my pair. I think maybe both of them. But they got detachable fins on the back, so it's just a plastic, whatever you want to call it, a wing. So they just pop off like that. So if you're just wanting to go on a trail that's already somewhat packed down, that's fine. Most of the time, though, we're walking in unpacked snow that's a little deeper. I mean, so we'll always have these on.
Yeah, so the benefit with these is, I mean, they're not super big. You don't get a lot of flotation with them on the snow. But if we're walking on lakes, usually we might only get a foot and a half of snow on the lakes here where we are. Most of the time it's wind blowing. But the benefit to these is, and especially at this time of year where we have slush, we have water on top of the ice, so it stops us from actually sinking down into that water. So it makes it a heck of a lot easier to walk and basically float on the, the top 6 inches of snow and stay out of that layer of water that's on the ice, and to make it difficult. So
yeah, and if you have to walk on hills or walk uphill, they got a little feature here. So it's just a wire that bends up. So that way, normally you just have it so that this is flat. If you're just walking on a flat level surface, you're gonna have it like that. But uphill, you're gonna pull that tab up so that your foot here, it's gonna be sitting level like this, but the snowshoe is gonna be at an angle. It's a lot easier to walk with that.
Yeah. The binding is actually, we were kind of leery about it initially. They're kind of combination, look like some kind of plastic and rubber, but they're super easy to get on and off. With these were actually United States, I think, the military surplus snowshoes that went to the surplus store. They did have some damage on them, and I think that's obviously why, like we said earlier, the price new is almost about $300. They had the fronts of the snowshoes were all damaged.
You can see they're cracked.
Yeah,
that was a common
fault of these things. They crack here. But all of what we did is we just took some thin metal, and basically we bent and made a bracket
Yeah.
for each side, just to kind of stop that, I guess, the front from kind of flexing.
Yes.
And like I say, we've used those for 3 years, and we have had no issues with them, and our cheap repair job has held out.
Yeah, just sheet metal and 3 sheet metal screws, and it seems to work. It actually holds it together quite well. I'm not sure if you were to buy these new, I'm not sure how long they would last. The fronts of them, because I mean they do flex a fair bit without these support, and they do crack over time. I just don't know how long they'd last if you were to buy them new.
But for $40 and some little bit of time, we can't complain.
Yeah, I think one more thing we forgot to mention pertaining to ice safety is whenever you head out, you should always obviously tell somebody where you're going. If it is first ice, always have a set of these. These are Rapala ice picks. You could have any brand of ice picks.
And those are to help you if you ever fall through the ice. I mean, we don't have to worry about it right now, but there's got about 15 inches of ice, which is a lot less than we normally have. Normally at this time of year up here we have 36 inches of ice. So we've had a super mild winter so far, and we have less than half the ice that we normally have. So also another piece of safety equipment.
Yeah, so this is just a cheap throw rope that we got. Always carry this. I mean, it doesn't weigh very much at all. It's always just good insurance to have it with us.